Subtlety rogues are masters of hiding in the shadows and striking from the unseen. I'm going to show you everything you need to know to succeed in the War Within Season 1 today. It's going to be beginner friendly, but it's also going to be very in-depth for those veterans watching. Let's start off with the stat priority then, getting straight into this. Our main stat is, of course, agility. You're going to want a higher and higher eye level or item level of gear to get more agility and better secondary stats. I'll put the priority of the secondary stats here. However, I want you to follow these quite loosely, as you should only really be actually, thinking which item is better if it's the same eye level. A higher eye level is generally always going to be better, no matter the secondary stats. And you should be simulating your character if you know how to work out which is better anyway. If you don't know how, then you're probably a beginner and you don't need to worry about that. It's honestly fine. So looking at our secondary stats then, Mastery as Subtlety is Executioner, increasing the damage done by our finishing moves. The higher the percentage, the higher our Mastery, or the other way around. Well, the same. So you can see here we've got three little combo point holes, five holes, combo points. Whenever you have some attacks that are combo point generators, and you're going to generate some of those combo points. Then we have combo point finishers, which will spend those combo points to deal more damage, basically. And that's what our mastery does. Our finishers will deal more damage for the more mastery we have. Versatility is the same no matter what class you play in WoW. It increases damage and healing done, and it reduces damage taken. We have critical strike, of course, giving us a chance to do more damage. Haste is actually going to increase our attack speed, so how quickly we're attacking, and also our energy regeneration, which is the main resource we're going to be spending to use our abilities as a rogue. While we're here, let's have a little quick look at the set bonus we're getting in Season 1 of the War Within. If you don't know what these abilities are, I will be fully explaining them in the rotation part, so stay with me here. 2 set bonus, Symbols of Death, increases the damage of your next secret technique. And the 4 set bonus, Secret Technique, then increases the damage of your other finishing moves by 16% for 7 seconds. Basically, Symbols of Death increases your Secret Technique increases the damage of your other finishing moves. Quite simple on the set bonus in Season 1. So now we're going to look through the utilities and some of the defensives, etc. that we have available to us as a rogue in the War Within. I do want to say these are not all of them. These are the ones that I think are the most important and that you should know about. And once you're more comfortable with your specialization, or just with rogue in general, I would say to just go through the spellbook here and just see what you have available. The same will be with the talents for the rogue side of the talent tree as well, as that is going to be the same on all 3 specs. So, on the left then, we have first, of course, stealth. We as a rogue can go into stealth whenever we want outside of combat. There are a few abilities I'll be showing you in the rotation where we can do it in combat as well, but for now we're sticking to what we can do whenever the hell we want. Now, of course, enemies will not be able to see us when we are in stealth, and we can sneak past most of them. Another interesting ability we have is our kick. This is an interrupt, and a lot of interrupts in the game are actually sometimes called kick because of this spell. It's kind of become the de facto name for interrupts. This is going to interrupt any spellcasting that your enemy is doing, and it's very, very important in both PvP and Mythic Plus. Generally in raiding it's less important, or you'll be using it less, but it is still good to know about. We then have Crimson Vial. Drink an alchemical concoction that heals you for 20% of your maximum health over 4 seconds. This can be seen as a defensive cooldown. However, it is only on a 30-second cooldown. And then we have Cold Blood on a 45-second cooldown. So it's another mini cooldown, if you will. Increases your critical strike chance of your next damaging ability by 100%, meaning you're going to get a guaranteed crit on your next attack. Over on the right then, we've got Evasion, increasing your dodge chance by 100%, and that is on a 2-minute cooldown, so that's a defensive ability. We have Sprint, increasing your movement speed by 100% for 12 seconds. You can also use this while you are stealthed, and it's a really great way to get from A to B in certain fights. We've also then got, speaking of stealth, Cloak of Shadows. This basically provides a moment of magic immunity, instantly removing all harmful spell effects. The cloak lingers, causing you to resist harmful spells for 5 seconds. And lastly, Subtlety, restoring 100 of your energy. And your mastery is going to be increased by 13.6% for 6 seconds. So energy is the main resource that you can see I've got here as a rogue. And of course, our mastery we spoke about in the stat priority section. And you have got 3 charges of this. Now, like I said, there's loads of other utilities you've got as a rogue. We have things like Shroud of Concealment, where basically you can give your entire party stealth as long as they stay within the shroud. Kidney Shot, Feint, Blind, Cheap Shot, Distract, Sap, Shadow Step, Tricks of the Trade, Pickpocket, Picklock, Kidney Shot. These are all the utilities that you have available as a rogue. But as this is a beginner video, I'm not going to overwhelm you with what all of these do. These are the main ones that I would say you should know about. Really, you could argue that Shroud of Concealment is another one. That is another really fantastic one. If I do go into stealth, you can see your allies that are inside this huge circle will also be stealthed for the duration, and it is for 15 seconds. So that's a good way that your whole entire group can get past enemies undetected. But it is on a 6-minute cooldown, so you can't use it over and over in quick succession. Now on to the fun part, which is the actual rotation. We're going to be playing as a Subtlety rogue in the War Within. We're going to start off with the Raid build. Now, the Raid and M+ build will both utilize the Trickster hero talents, and I'll be going through those in full shortly. But let's start looking at the rotation first. So we always want to go into combat in stealth if we can. That's just kind of like a big known thing. If you don't know Rogue that well, we have energy as our main resource that we're going to be spending to use our abilities. And then we have something called combo point generators and spenders. You can see here, I've got these combo points. And for example, an ability like Backstab is actually going to generate combo points. So stab the target, causing damage. Damage is increased by 20% when you're behind them. And critical strike supply find weakness for 10 seconds. That is this here. 30% of armor is ignored by the attacking rogue. That is your find weakness. Then we have our spenders, like Slice and Dice, a finishing move that consumes combo points to increase attack speed by 60%. So basically, the more combo points you spend, the longer this will last. And that is the general premise of all of your finishers. They're going to do more damage, etc., for the more combo points you spend on them. So we actually have 2 phases that we're going to go through as a Subtlety rogue in the War Within, which is Shadow Dance and Outside Shadow Dance. Basically, Shadow Dance allows the use of all stealth abilities and grants all the combat benefits of stealth for 8 seconds and increases damage by 30%. If you already know Shadow Dance, you gain a stack of it. We have 2 stacks of it. Basically, we do more damage and everything is better if we are in stealth. So, like Shadow Strike, for example, you can only use that one in stealth. Outside of Shadow Dance, our main combo point generator is going to be Backstab. And then the priority of our finishers is going to be Slice and Dice, then Rupture, then Eviscerate. Slice and Dice to mean we're attacking a lot faster. Rupture, a finishing move that adds a bleed to the target, and we're going to want to keep up that bleed as much as possible. And then Eviscerate, a finishing move that disembowels the target. Oh, how charming. Causing damage per combo point. Targets with find weakness suffer an additional amount of damage as shadow damage. And then we have our Shadow Dance, which I've explained, where in this one, we're going to be in single target at least, using this short priority. Shadow Strike here, as you can see, our main combo point builder strikes the target, and while stealthed, you strike through the shadows and appear behind your target, dealing additional damage. What you'll notice is that Backstab only awards 1 combo point. Shadow Strike applies 3 combo points. Hence why we want to be in stealth. We want to be using instead Shadow Strike as much as possible because it is just that much better. The priority on finishing moves we're going to be using in our Shadow Dance window is going to be Secret Technique and then Eviscerate. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't be using Slice and Dice and Rupture. But remember, when we use Slice and Dice, if we use it on all 7 combo points, that's going to last for 48 seconds. There's no reason why we should be needing to use it in our Shadow Dance window. We want to make sure that Slice and Dice and the Rupture bleed are already up before we go into our Shadow Dance window, and then we're going to be using Secret Technique and Eviscerate. Secret Technique then, finishing move that creates shadow clones of yourself, and all of the shadow clones will perform a piercing attack on all enemies near your target, dealing damage. more damage for more points. And the cooldown of Secret Technique, which is usually 54 seconds, will be reduced by 1 second for every combo point that you spend. After that, it's just going to be Eviscerate in that window. Then, looking at our cooldowns, we have Flagellation and Shadow Blades. Only use Shadow Blades after Flagellation. Flagellation lashes the target for damage, causing each combo point spent within 12 seconds to lash for an additional amount of damage. Dealing damage with Flagellation increases your mastery by a massive amount, persisting for 12 seconds after their torment fades. Then we go in with Shadow Blades, drawing upon surrounding shadows to empower your weapons, causing attacks to deal more damage at shadow and causing your combo point generating abilities to generate full combo points for 20 seconds, which is huge. And then we have, on a 25-second cooldown, so we can use this quite a lot, Symbols of Death, invoke ancient symbols of power, generating some energy and increasing damage done. Just try not to overcap on your energy with this. And then, of course, we have Shadow Dance. So when should we go in to our Shadow Dance? Because Symbols of Death is increasing our damage done, and Shadow Dance window is when we'd be doing most damage, you ideally want to use Shadows of Death and then go into Shadow Dance to maximize the damage we're doing in that burst window. We can also use Vanish in our Shadow Dance window. And you want to do this after you use your Secret Technique with Flagellation and Shadow Blades up. The best time to use your cooldowns is in that window because it's going to maximize our damage. Vanish again allows you to vanish from sight. Entering stealth while in combat for the first 3 seconds after vanishing, damage and harmful effects received will not break stealth, and you do get 2 charges. Finally, Cold Blood. You're going to use this with your Secret Technique. You can macro it together if you'd like. I'll put one of these on my Patreon. I've got loads of macros on there for you. Increases the critical strike chance of your next damaging ability by 100%. And obviously, using Secret Technique, our finisher, is the best ability to use that on. And that is pretty much the single target raid rotation we're going to be following. Going over into the Mythic Plus rotation, you can see only a few things are actually changing. But it is going to be much more kind of suited for an AoE rotation on multiple enemies. In our Shadow Dance window, we're doing the exact same thing, as you can see here. Same thing again with our cooldowns. I haven't bothered to include them because it's all exactly the same as I just showed you. The only thing is, as a lower priority, after Eviscerate, we are adding Black Powder into the mix. Finishing move that launches explosive black powder at all nearby enemies dealing physical damage. Deals reduced damage beyond 8 targets, and all nearby targets with your find weakness will suffer an additional amount of damage. Again, same thing outside of Shadow Dance, except only use Backstab if you're up against one single enemy, for example, maybe on a boss fight. If it is multiple enemies, like in the trash, you would use Shuriken Storm instead to generate your combo points. Sprays shurikens at all enemies within 10 yards, dealing physical damage. Reduce damage at 8 targets. Critical strikes with Shuriken Storm apply Find Weakness for 10 seconds. That's a great way of getting your Find Weakness debuff out on many, many mobs. Again, same priority for the finishers with Black Powder included. The only thing I will mention is that we only want to be using Eviscerate in the multi-target priority if something called Flawless Form is up, but I'm going to explain that fully now in the hero talents that we are going to be going through. So for this build, we are going with Trickster as a Subtlety rogue. I do want to say that the hero talents I'm showing you are all already included in the rotation we've been through. So this is more the why around the what. The rotation being the what, this being the why. Hero talents are new, so I am going to go into a bit more detail than I usually do in my guides. Unseen Blade then, this is the keystone talent we're getting. Backstab and Shadow Strike now also strike with an Unseen Blade, dealing loads of damage, and targets struck are phased for 10 seconds. Phased enemies take more damage from you and can't parry your attacks. However, this effect can only happen once every 20 seconds. Surprising Strikes. Attacks that generate combo points deal more damage or critical strike damage against phased targets. And then we've got our first utility choice. So Tricky, Tricks the Trade's threat redirect is increased to an hour. Or Don't Be Suspicious, where Blind and Shroud of Concealment have a 10% reduced cooldown, and Pickpocket and Sap have a 10-yard increased range. Pick this based on the circumstance you're in. Disorienting Strikes. Secret Technique has a 10% reduced cooldown and allows your next 2 strikes of Unseen Blade to ignore its cooldown. In the middle, I'm going for Mirrors, where Feint reduces damage from area of effect attacks by an additional amount. Secret Technique applies phase to any target struck. And then No Scruples. Finishing moves have 10% increased chance to critically hit phase targets. Unseen Blade and Secret Technique increase the damage of your finishing moves, and multiple applications may overlap, which is great. 1,000 Cuts. Slice and Dice gives you an additional attack speed on top of what it usually does, and gives your auto attacks a chance to refresh your opportunity to strike with Unseen Blade. Then, Nimble Flurry. Your auto attacks, Backstab, Shadow Strike, and Eviscerate also strike up to 7 nearby targets for half the normal damage while Flawless Form is active. And lastly, the Coup de Grace. After 4 strikes of Unseen Blade, your next Eviscerate will be performed as a Coup de Grace, functioning as if it had consumed 5 additional combo points, which is insane. If the primary target is phased, you're going to then gain 5 stacks of Flawless Form. So it's not really that complex. We're basically phasing our targets and doing more damage to them and enhancing our combat abilities and utilities due to that. And that's it. That is Trickster hero talents that we are taking. Now looking at the consumables and enchants, etc. we're using as a rogue, the first thing you may notice is that we now, from the weekly Great Vault, have a new way of getting gem sockets for our gear. We can add these with the Nerubian Gem Weaver on our head, waist, and wrist. It's not on this picture. And we can add 2 gem sockets to our neck and both rings now, rather than in the previous expansion where it was just 3 sockets on your neck. And that is of a magnificent jeweler's setting. So you can see 2 on the neck, 2 on the ring, and 2 on the other ring. We're going with Chant of Winged Grace on your cloak enchant, which gives avoidance and removes some fall damage. Crystalline Radiance gives agility. Armored Leech gives leech. Stormbound Armor Kit actually gives agility on the legs. Scout's March gives movement speed. I think it's 250. Mastery on the rings, and then Authority of the Depths on both of your weapons. Authority of the Depths basically means when you're damaging foes, you have a chance to do this big old dark, shadowy damage, and that can deepen, as they like to call it, on the tooltip, which I think that just means it can stack 3 times, which is pretty nice. Then looking at the actual consumables we're using, Alchemical Chaos is the best for DPS, but most people are probably going to go with Versatility for a more rounded out increase in survivability and damage. Alchemical Chaos will rotate your secondary stats. It'll add 7,000 to 1 secondary stat while taking off 600 of the other 2. But what's interesting, and that'll rotate for however long, Tempered Potion will actually add, when you use a potion, that will add to the secondary stats that you're not getting from your flask. So it's really interesting how that works. And it will still do the same thing if you use the Versatility one, just it won't give Versatility, it'll give the others. Healing Potion is called the Algari Healing Potion. Iron Claw Whetstone adds attack power. It's like 500 attack power for an hour on your weapon oil. If you're using an Augment Rune, it's called the Crystallized Augment Rune. And then we're using Culminating Blasphemites on our gems. An Onyx is generally going to be the best one, but you do want to use different coloured gems, apart from Amber, to get the most effect out of the Blasphemite. So basically, you can use a Ruby, Sapphire, an Emerald, and an Onyx. I think that's the right ones. And what it does is, so the Blasphemite gives primary stat, so agility, but it also gives 0.15% critical strike effect increase per different colored gem that you're wearing. Hence why you want to wear an Onyx, a Sapphire, a Ruby, and an Emerald, and then the rest of them you can use for whatever you want to get the full effect from your epic gem. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it was really useful for you in The War Within Season 1, whether it was for Mythic Plus or raiding. If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to help. My Patreon is in the description below, and that is where you can find my LVUI profiles, which I'll show you in a second. And also, I'm putting together a huge macro list for every single spec that's going to be really useful for you in The War Within as well. I am doing all classes and specs for The War Within, so if you are new to the channel, then please do click this playlist here to check out what else I have, which is all of them. There will also be PvP guides on this channel as well for War Within Season 1, so make sure to look out for that. This here is the UI that I was referring to. As you can see, we've got target frames, etc., left and right, and raid frames go in the middle here, and then weak auras in the middle with an action bar down here. Chat is behind where my camera is. Minimap and details, etc., are here on the right. All of the plater profiles, the voodoo, the LVY, etc., details profile has all been made by me. And again, you can get this on my Patreon should you like it.